Video start. Intro start. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello, welcome to the new storm. I know, you waited much too long, and I will be your shining star. I'm here, better talk to you, and on the sun, run to the day, and night will fly till fire's one, the rage I'll send each and every one, more is one. And after all, the sword flashing with every band of power in you. Then, moving like a man, my kingdom. I love the wind. And welcome to the end is near. I know. Whenever you plan and feel around the sky, thanks with you and I. The flash, I'm gone, holding your pride. In range, I'll say each and every till it's war, it's one. And after all, I saw it flashing through the angry inch of the power new. Listen, the way will I command my kingdom. And I of the wind. I should make a fancy force, not all the power, unshakable. Video start. Oh, hello, my wonderful, beautiful brothers of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. I am the Dark Shadow Maverick, and welcome to part 4 of What If Izuku Midoriya was Killowa's son. Man, I went through that like those guys at auctions. Damn. Anyways, part 3, we basically got through everything to do with the quirk assessment, which is why I'm going to get you guys with the double feature of the mock battles and the USJ. So, yeah. Plus, there's bound to be something happening at the USJ which you guys might like. Anyways, basically one day, Aizawa was like, I'm gonna be hitting you guys with some combat training. And then All Might would just, go John Cenaing through the door, being like, I'm going through a door like a normal person. And, well, All Might would explain the whole entire rules. 2 versus 2, hero, villain, and, the villains have the fake bomb. It's either not take out both villains or touch the bomb before the timer runs out. Or you could do either or. It's kind of like an interchangeable thing. So, yes. And also, the teams will be chosen by lottery. And whenever he is about to say something, All Might basically already has the answer for him. So yeah, that brings us by pretty fast. And, well, Midori is just happy that she's, being able to participate in something like this. She will admit, as much as she doesn't want to cause destruction to the world, this hero training stuff, this being able to fight it out, finally show her skills, this does get our blood pumping. It may just be the Izuku Midoriya, not really Izuku Midoriya in this, universe. In this one, it's Izuku Zoldyck. It may just be the Izuku Zoldyck rubbing off on her. And so basically, yes, they'd be waiting for the first match because everything is paired up in lots, remember? So basically, the villains actually would be stated first. It would be Bakugo and Ida. And Bakugo and Ida would be wondering who they were going to be fighting as, the heroes. They would be the heroes. The people that they were fighting against. So, All Might would just be like, oh, that is indeed a dangerous pairing. Izuku Zoldyck and Midori, no last name given. So basically, whenever Bakugo hears that he's gonna have to, contend with not only Izuku, but, the Ant Girl, in which they're supposed to be forming a friend group, some sort of friendship thing. In which the thing that I really wasn't wanting to tell you guys yet, what exactly it is, and why it's so grim and morbid. I didn't really say morbid, I said grim. But it's kind of both, grim and morbid. And basically, you can basically check anyone's lifespan. How long they have left to live. He's like the Grim Reaper, only he doesn't really, kill you. It's just, he checks how long you have left until you die. And, well, while it does require cooperation with, it does take cooperation with him and his, kinda other Bakugo. It takes cooperation from both sides in order to do. He can, freaking edit and adjust the number. So he can either make you live longer or make you live shorter. And, if you're speaking, life-threatening injuries that would, end up in you dying like right now. So you can basically like edit that to like give you extra like hours, days to live. So basically undo the injury. You could even do that for All Might. It's just like I said, there has to be like cooperation in between him and his like other like thing, like the Bakugo Freaks version of him. Which, if you don't understand what I'm actually saying, go watch part 3. You'll get the information there. So, yeah, these are not the droids you are looking for. That's just hilarious. Basically, Bakugo is like, he doesn't really feel like using his nin ability or abilities on, people who are supposed to be his friend group. So he's going to stick to explosions for now. And, well, Ida, being his partner, wondering why he's giving everyone such strange looks. Bakugo also doesn't want them to notice the fact that his eyes change. But at this point, really, if he ever uses his nin abilities, his eyes are going to change. So it's kind of like if he ever has to use his nin abilities, it's kind of unavoidable. So, yeah. That's the thing. So basically, Izuku gives the old-fashioned strategy of, you go for the bomb, Bakugo is definitely gonna come after me. Like, he still has that chip off his old shoulder that he's got. Even if we're in a friend group, he has that chip on his shoulder. And, well, basically, you could call Izuku psychic, because that's exactly what Bakugo does. That's exactly what Bakugo does. And basically, before he did that, he tapped Ida on the shoulder just long enough to where he could see Ida's future. Just enough for, like, the actual, section which is the mock battles. And in that time span, what he saw was Ida losing, like, horribly. And Bakugo's like, well, at least I gotta make the most out of this that I can. I know Four Eyes over there is definitely gonna lose this for us, but at least I can try to do something. And so, basically, Bakugo not really wanting to interfere with his own visions, he doesn't actually try to stop Midori from going up and, facing off against Ida, even though he knows Midori's the one who is going to kick Ida's ass. And basically, Bakugo goes and is like, okay, let's do this. And Izuku's like, Bakugo, don't you know? Once I crapped out after using Cloak 3, I decided to, let's just say, My friend isn't the only one who experienced. John, Ken, go. And then instead of saying rock, he's like, scissors! And then, like, Bakugo wasn't expecting scissors. So, yeah, he just gets, like, folded just from that sneak attack because it kind of hits his nervous system. And, like, it's kind of like whenever you hit your elbow against a table. And, you know, you just gets, like, nervous system all out of whack. Or you like, get a good enough jack to the jaw to where you're just out of it. And so, yeah, just by getting hit with scissors once, like John can go, like, scissors! Like, you're just hitting him with scissors once. And Bakugo's basically got out of it. Because he was, like, using explosions to propel himself forward. So he smacked straight into the scissors. So, yeah, you could see why he's, like, flying and unconscious. So, yeah. Basically, Izuku's like, well, since both hands down, he's like, electric propulsion. Lightning Cloak 3. And just sends him all the way up there. Yes, he can actually go into Cloak 3 now. And use some abilities in Cloak 3. Like the lightning propulsion. Just shoots him up really high up in the air. High enough to where he can get to the top of the stairs. Without actually having to freaking, go up the stairs. Just shooting himself up that high. Like, without any real, contact with the stairs. Like, he might have touched one stair before he decided, yeah, no. And be like, propulsion! Just skyrocketed himself up there. With his white lightning. Like his white lightning propulsion Cloak 3. And, basically it's like... Basically, Midori is finally like... Not shit. Basically, Midori is like... Ida, don't make me gotta do this. And Ida's like... Well, I am the villain in this situation, aren't I? So you aren't touching the button. And then all of a sudden, like, Midori just pops in front of Ida and then just folds the dude like vibe checks his entire life. Like, vibe checks his entire life. Like, all the way to hell. Just, like, completely vibe checks him. Like, just massacres this dude. And, to the point where it's just like, touch. And then just like, the heroes win. And like, they won, like, blah. And then all the other matches kind of, go in canon. Everything goes in canon. Besides, the first match, because obviously some things were changed. So basically, yeah. Now, after like a few days, we would end up, like the class would end up hearing about like the announcement from Aizawa about the field trip to the USJ. And obviously, not anyone's really all interested in, being at all close to the future queen of the ants. Like the Chimera ants. No one's interested in that deal. Except for Izuku, because Izuku doesn't really see that as a bother, like something to be afraid about. Like, he's not that kind of guy. He doesn't swing, like, in the direction of everybody else. It's kind of like the blues in my meta what if. Like, he swings differently than everybody else. Him, freaking Miruem, like, not bleh. Him, Midori, they kind of swing differently from everybody else. And Bakugo's kind of, the more he embraces his new secret powers, the more he's starting to swing their way too. So, yeah, but it's a learning process. Trust me, it is indeed a learning process. But hey, he's sitting next to Kirishima, and Kirishima's just all about calling him Baku bro. And Bakugo is just like, my friend circle's kind of those guys, but I can't really tell him that. He'll not want to be around me at all. I at least need, like, to seem normal to some people. Like, Bakugo knows he's trying to form a little bit of a friend, not really a circle, but more or less a triangle. With, like Izuku and Midori, but he can't really tell anyone else that, or else basically that, the whole entire thing. So, Bakugo's kind of in dire straits for his whole entire social life, around other people. But hey, what's a few eggs to, like, an omelet? So, yeah. Basically, whenever they get there, like, unlike Ochako, Midori doesn't exactly, like, fangirl over the Hero 13, but she does have mad respect. She will admit she has mad respect for someone like 13 who has the kind of quirk that she does and still decided to be a hero. Even after everything that came her way. She has mad respect for people like that. And so, while she may not exactly, be a super fan, she does indeed have mad respect. And that is indeed something she will freely admit to 13 right in front of her face. That she has the maddest of all respect for her. Basically, Izuku's like, okay, yeah, we had the whole conversation, blah, 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 blah. Let's actually get to the USJ. I mean, it looks cool from the outside, but I wonder what it's going to look from the inside. The way it's going to look from the inside. And Bakugo's like, well, leave it to Izuku to defuse that, kind of situation. So I don't have to, myself. He's like, so that I don't have to. So, yeah. Basically, whenever 13 is explaining what she's explaining, and as always, even, like letting everyone know, like, you should take some pointers about this shit. It's, like, for real shit. And that's whenever, bam, bam, you would just, not like Bam Bam Bigelow's theme song, like bam bam as in like the sound of two doors shutting. You just hear that. So I guess slam slam? Like how Shawn Michaels was the Grand Slam champion? Shit, why do I keep on making wrestling references? Well, basically, Izuku, Bakugo, Midori, they all kind of realize they're in deep shit now. Like, what the frick are they supposed to do? Like, good God. This does not look good. And Bakugo's like, Izuku, you got any reason why you're still carrying on your backpack over your hero costume? And Izuku's just like, well, Bakugo, if you're really so, interested, I could show you, but, it'd be premature. And that would not be good. At least I don't think it would be. And if you're wondering why he mentioned something about premature, well, let's just say that Izuku and Miri, after Miri finally calmed her shit down, there was actually, let's say this is like 3 days before the actual USJ attack. However, this was indeed after the mock battles. It was after the mock battles. Basically, 3 days before the USJ attack. Let's say like 3 days before that, Izuku would basically... Actually, no, not 3 days before the USJ attack. 3 days after the mock battles. So, I think that would give them a little bit more time, Actually, instead of just a little bit, just like a little bit over a little bit, It would give like a more of an expansive time, is what I'm thinking. And if you're wondering, like, for what? Well, let's just say 3 days after the mock battles, well, Izuku realizing that Midori not having any parents and no siblings, really she's all on her own. No other Chimera ants with her. And so, his age, dude only recently just turned 16. Yes, it turns out that I may even tweak what the actual date of Izuku's birth is, if it's not that. Let's just say, for the convenience of the what if, dude just recently turned 16. He was 15, but now he's just recently turned 16. So, yeah. Like, the whole turning 16 thing, it was like the day right after, like, the mock battles. So, saying that it's just 3 days after, like, this happens, it would only be, like, 2 days after, whenever this happens, 2 days after he turns 16. That's how recently I mean whenever I mean recently just turned 16. That's how recently I mean. So, this thing that happens is only, like, after the mock battles, but before the USJ attack, which is basically what he means whenever, Basically, this thing that happens, it's after the mock battles, but before the USJ attack. It's only 3 days after the mock battles. And so, basically, yes. Indeed, some things would indeed go down. Some things would indeed go down. Talking about that good business, that good shit, you know? Finally, like, confessing that he can't really stay away. That it's almost like, you know, basically, it would just be like, they couldn't really stay away from each other, married or not. They were going to be together. So they would kind of get semi-married under, like, a Chimera Ant ritual. So a Chimera Ant ritual marriage. Before, like, what the law considers an actual official marriage. So they would kind of be, like, semi-married. So it would be, like, semi-okay. For this to be going on. Like, that good shit. You know? The laying on the smackdown. And Izuku would be doing such a good job that he'd be like, oh yeah. Just from wanting to introduce Midori to a whole new world. A whole new place. And you know, crazy shit. And you know, because of that little night in which that happened, that night, 3 nights after the mock battles, well, ever since the little buggers have been, you know, gestating in little capsules, you know, carrying the little capsules around, because eventually the gestation process will cause them to bloom and thus, like, literally shatter out of the freaking capsules. And, you know, they would get to finally stretch. And, well, something very interesting is that there's a total of 5 of them. However, only 2 were allowed to be, like, you know, brought with them along to school, because the other 3, well, basically, there are 3. Two of them are being kept at Midori's place, and one of them is being kept at Izuku's place in a special hiding place where no one will figure out that any of this actually happened. However, that still leaves the 2 that they actually brought with them to school. Izuku has one, and Midori basically has one. And you know, they show it to Bakugo, and Bakugo's like, what the hell are those? Like, they look like eggs, but they can't be eggs. Like, what the actual shit? You brought living creatures to, like, a freaking field trip? Like, what the frick? And then Midori would just give him that look, and he would be like, no. And Izuku would be like, yes. Indeed, yes. We've actually came up with names for them already. I had to have some help from, you know, the missus over here. And one of them, we just had a random name generator, and we decided to poke and prod at the name it generated until we found something we found something we liked. The name of the 5 offspring will tell you now, Bakugo, because they don't seem to want to automatically attack. Caramel, Poppy, Ropelli. Wait. Repelolico. Yes. Caramel, Poppy, Ropelolico, Darumane, and Shintozaki. Or Shintozaki. You know. Basically, yeah. Caramel, Poppy, Ropelolico, Darumane, and Shintozaki are the 5 offspring that were automatically, had. Apparently, uh, even interspecies, you know, intercourse, needs protection. And Bakugo facepalm. Oh my god. Yeah, Izuku thought that since it was interspecies, like intercourse, would need protection. At least not needed as much. But no, that just made it to where there was like 5 of them off the bat. And it hurt Midori. Yeah, it actually hurt her. To like 5 at once. That shit hurt. And well, the 2 that they brought with them, basically, yes. Oh boy. This is gonna be something. Carumel and Ropelolico are the ones that they brought. And basically, they should basically, like, entrust them with someone who's not gonna fly off the handle. And so, they entrust Bakugo to stay behind in the sidelines and, take care of Carumel and Ropelolico. Ropelolico. And Bakugo's like, really? Really? Me? You're the actual freaking parents. And like, shh, don't yell it. And, he'll just be like, fine. And then all of a sudden, it would be like, whenever the Nomu comes out, Midori actually has to use, like, her power. Has to actually start, go all mountain busting techniques on the Nomu. Because it's like, she basically saw it regenerate from, like, very powerful attacks. So, she's about to do some mountain busting moves. And, like, rip apart the Nomu. So yeah, Caramel and Ropelolico were the ones that were brought to the USJ. Izuku had Caramel, and Midori had Ropelolico. Originally, those were the ones that they had. And then, like, the middle one. So basically, things have been going wild, child, and for things. So, yeah. Just introduced to a whole new world of pain. And so, Shigaraki being like, cheaters, cheaters, cheaters! They're cheating! And, Shigaraki would actually realize the eggs. And would be like, ooh, what's that all about? And, well, he'd just basically be like, Kirogiri, can you pull off one more teleportation for me, please? And Kirogiri would just be like, indeed, Master Tamura. He would just point over to Bakugo, and, just the kid, not what he's holding. I want that for myself. And basically, before Bakugo could even say anything, whoop, just yeet. Shigaraki's like, oh, there's names on these little canisters that have these eggs inside of them. Caramel and Rapelolico? What kind of names are Caramel and Rapelolico? Stupid names, that's what they are. And so he would just go to put all 5 of his fingers on both of the containers to decay away everything. And Izuku and especially freaking Miri would be alerted to this and would be like, oh, hell no! Basically, they'd both smash with Jonkins into freaking Shigaraki, causing him to flip up like Charlie Brown. Just causing him to have a Charlie Brown moment. Or, you could indeed say it would be like one of those, and then he knew he effed up moments. And that's when he knew he effed up. Mixed with a Charlie Brown moment. And, the containers will be up in the air, and, well, I'm not exactly sure if, Midori would be training her body that much to give her flight reflexes. It's like the standard stuff is what she would normally be training herself with. After this little catastrophe, that's whenever that would change. But, the little catastrophe is still going on. So, still hasn't changed. And Izuku's just like, oh, hell no! And he's just like, jump shot! It's shoots himself up in the air, and both hands out, tries to grab both, and he basically, complete and total misses. If, the thing with the match catch, this would be the match miss. And basically, they'd be waiting for, the worst possible thing to happen. And all I would hear was shattering glass, not any sort of shattering egg material. So they'd be wondering, what? But, they still need to be in the capsules in order for, the fertilization of, the eggs and everything. The gestation period to go fully through. That's whenever they realized the way the eggs were reacting to the outside world, they might have just, the containers might have just been broken at the right exact time. Because this exposure to the outside world starts to create a chain reaction within the eggs. Caramel and Ropelico would indeed be born. And the Hayanomu, that Midori was focusing those mountain busting moves on. Basically, these two, just like Midori, would kind of be like baby level. But if we know anything from Midori, it's not to underestimate even the babies of the Chimera ant race. Even the babies are dangerous. Then again, he was the king, so yeah, but he was also a baby, pretty much. And didn't even know his own freaking name until it was too late. And so yeah. Basically with that whole thing, and Midori finally realizing what actually happened, not what she thought happened, but what actually happened. Even Izuku, who was actually kind of freaking out, he realizes what's actually happened, and then he's just like, oh, shit, like, run that. Like, damn, boy. Or should I say, boys? Because I'm just going to say right now the genders of all of the different, first 5. I'm just going to call them the new Chimera Ant 5. It's basically what they are. Caramel's a guy. Poppy is going to be a girl whenever she's born. Ropelico is also a guy. Daruman is a guy. And Shinrozaki's a guy. Actually, should Ropelico be a girl? Maybe Ropelico should be a girl. Yes, however, Caramel, his gender is not going to change. He is definitely going to be a guy. There's Caramel and then Ropelico. So basically, Caramel and the Ropelico have just now been born, and they see the first things they see 3 things. They see Shigaraki, they see Izuku, they see Midori, and basically already they can tell one of them is their mother, because not only does she look female, but she does indeed look like what an ant would look like a chimera ant. However, the other 2, basically, Midori has no trouble saying it for Izuku, seeing as they kind of already did the ritualistic ant marriage before actually doing the official, law marriage. So technically they're married, just not married. So technically, no problem actually just spilling the beans. That boy over there, you see him? He is a Zoldyck. He is Izuku Zoldyck. And Izuku Zoldyck. You want to know who Izuku Zoldyck is? Or at least who he is to you two? And who he will be to your 3 new siblings whenever they are born. And, Caramel and Ropelico are like, wait, we're gonna have 3 new siblings? They're not born yet? Okay. Well, we're the first 2 to be born. They're Caramel and Ropelico are kind of like twins in the way that they were the first 2 to be born. Not the first one, they were born at the same time, so they're the first two to be born. Basically, yeah, so they're kind of twins in that way. So Caramel and Ropalico, they're basically like, so there was like originally like 5 like chimera ant eggs, and like the other 3 are somewhere, and they have like the next 3 that you gave birth to, that they're gonna be our next 3 siblings. And that's basically like Miri's like, correct. I see, Izuku. We have very smart children. Oh, oops. Looks like I brought it up in a different kind of way. Oh, silly me. And Izuku's like, well, yeah, kids. Trust what your mother says. And, seeing as you should trust what she says, that means, well, I think you know what it means. After all, she did indeed point to me. And that basically, like, Caramel and Ropalico, they basically look at each other, and they're just like they look at each other, look at their mother, look at Izuku, and they're just like, oh, shit. Like, that guy's our father. And from the looks of him, he has, like, some sort of, like, is your Nen White Lightning? Like, that type of Nen ability? And, like, Izuku's like, yeah, you're right, they are very smart. Like, without even me actually using it, just from the residue, they were able to tell that that was my Nen ability thing. And, well, with the Zoldycks being pretty much assassins, you know, the assassin tricks of the Zoldycks have already been privy to me. And even, you know, a friend of my father, his ability, known as the Jonken. Though, that's been taking a while for the both of us to learn. Maybe one of these days we could get to teaching you guys, if you felt interested, that is. And, well, Caramel and Ropalico, they would be like, oh, hell yeah! Of course! That sounds awesome! Like, our parents are awesome, Ropalico! Like, that's what Caramel would say. And Ropalico would be like, well, of course our parents would be awesome. I mean, one of them's a Zoldyck, and the other one is like, Mom, what does this? And basically would say, well, this technically means I am officially now the queen. And Shigaraki's like, wait, what? We're facing the queen of the Chimera Ants? Shit. Kirogiri, abort the mission! He's freaking the frick out. And Izuku's like, no thanks. And, you know, basically, Izuku's about to do something whenever all of a sudden Caramel's like, if I may. And then just disappears and reappears and just like, BAM! Like, freaking ground pounds Shigaraki into, like, through the freaking floor. And, you know, Capellico, basically, he's like, and while we're at it, he basically, you know, whenever, like, Caramel picks him up, Caramel, his name's actually Caramel, it's basically a spin on Caramel. His name is Caramel. And basically, he picks him up and, like, lifts him a little bit up in the air and, like, let go, and just, like, a spinning kick from the Ropalico. Just, like, so, basically, Caramel's thing for now is just, like, punches, like, different ways in which he can use his fists. And, you know, Ropalico's thing is, like, like ways in which he can like do some sort of like acrobatic kick shit. And so yeah, basically the two brothers, they basically just actually wait. Did I make Rapalico a girl? What the I know Caramel I'm gonna make a guy, so well I've made a guy. Caramel's a guy, Poppy is a girl. I know Darume's gonna be a guy, and Shintozaki's a guy, so yeah, Rapalico would have to be the girl. But hey, they would still treat each other with equal gender equality. You know, they'd still beat the crap out of each other. Like, what siblings don't? So yeah, Rapalico is a girl, and Caramel is a guy. So yeah, brother-sister relationship, but it's a very strong one, and they're both very intelligent. Already. But like, what do you expect? Like, Meruem was like a baby whenever he died, yet he was like known to be like this super god mod, like, don't F with this guy kind of type. And he was just a freaking baby who didn't even know his own name. So, these two do know their name, and they even have both parents alive. And one of them is a Zoldyck. So, yeah! Wow! That sounds like a horse name. Just basically, yeah! Wow, that's... wow. But then again, now we got the rampaging frickin' Nomu. But then, you know, Caramel and Rapalico, they're just like, oh, we can do this. We got this. And basically, like, Rapalico's doing the old twisty kick thing, like, basically like a spinning roundhouse kick. And, basically it would be like a ground pound would send Rapalico up into the air, and this would basically be like a sky drill attack. And, the brain is exposed. They basically figured that out just by looking at the creature. The brain is exposed, so it's probably the weak spot. And so, like, basically, just by ground pounding the air with enough force to send Rapalico up into the air and down, just had to aim the ground pound just at the right enough angle to where it would actually launch Rapalico into the Nomu's direction, like the high-end Nomu. And it does end up causing the brain to explode whenever the freaking sky spinning freaking roundhouse split kick attack happens. Like exploding split kick. It's just like freaking Jesus freaking Christ. Like, just damn. That is insane. Like, not only can they do their own special attacks on their own, but they can also do them in tandem with one another. So, like, yeah. Very intelligent indeed. And also very freaking frighteningly strong. They're, like, insane strong. They took down the Nomu, they took down Shigaraki. Basically, Kirogiri is like, yeah, we need to leave. Like, woo! Yeah, so... basically, Rapalico would be like, well, shit. And just fall on his butt, like, fall on her butt. And just be like, that sucks. And Caramel would just be like, no, it doesn't suck, it blows! And, basically, they're just, like Izuku and Midori would just be, like, sitting back, and they'd just be like, Probably got that from, being around Bakugo. Like, Repelico seems to be a lot more laid back and chill, these type of things. Or at least for now. And Carmel just seems to be overall pissed that any of them got away. That is until Repelico reminds Carmel, you helped me with that cool freaking tag team attack we did. That cool ass freaking tag team attack we did. Wasn't that cool? I mean, at least sort of make up for all of that. I mean, come on, bro. And Carmel is like, well, yeah, that was cool, but still, they're villains. They shouldn't have been allowed to get away. Should have done something to somehow stop that guy from creating those portals. Like some sort of quirk-canceling collar. If only we were still smarter. If only we were born smarter and born stronger. We could have done something, but can't believe we let them leave. Just like that. And Repelico would be like, hey, bro, and like pat him on the back. It's like, man, we can't solve every problem just in one sitting. Some things are going to slip by no matter what we do. That's why we have to train to get better. Our mom wants to become a hero. Our dad also looks like he wants to become a hero, or else why would he be here along with mom? So, what do you think that should say about the future of our kind? We should set an example for our future siblings. The 3 that still haven't hatched yet. I think it said something about not actually naming them yet. Or, well, have named them, but they haven't hatched yet. You've given them names, they just haven't hatched yet. And that's whenever all of a sudden, busting through the door, one of them, busts through the door, and the other 2 are following suit. And they brought, the heroes, and, Ida, because Ida was like, what do I do? This is getting out of control. This situation is crazy. Wait, I thought there was something they left stuff. Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't have been acting the way they have been recently. Yeah, I remember they left stuff at their house and, in between them. And so, yeah, basically, there would be 3 other Chimera ants with Ida and the other heroes. And Ida would be like, please just try to accept it, whatever happens. Whenever they basically hear Ida all flustered about the fact that he thinks that they aren't going to accept help from Chimera ants, he gets surprised. Basically, they're able to hear stuff from the outside, so whenever they heard Ida's, basically being exasperated because of how defeated he felt, it just woke them up, and they were all like, well, technically, they were also gathered in a bunch, so it could have also been gathered by heat. Okay? Yes. I have not eaten yet. No? I just like something, please. Hey, Dad! If you're gonna give me Taco Bell, please more than what you gave me last time. You really thought that was going to fill me up. This man's crazy. So basically, Poppy, Darumane, and Shintozaki. Yes, Poppy, Darumane, and Shintozaki would be the ones that were following Ida and the Pro Heroes. Poppy being a girl, and Shintozaki and Darumane being guys. Basically, now Repelico has someone to do girl stuff with. And, think about girl stuff with. She won't be forever alone. She actually has a girl sibling to hang out with. But she also wants to hang out with her, pretty much twin by the fact that they were born at the same damn time. So, yeah. And the whole twin thing, it wouldn't be a twin thing, it would be more like a three-way relationship. So Shintozaki, Darumane, and Poppy, they really wouldn't have the whole twin connection. However, Poppy would indeed have the connection with Repelico, the whole girls thing. Like, girls do girl stuff, girls think girl stuff. That kind of connection. And basically, just Ida trying to explain the situation the best that he can. Basically, just like, Ida's trying to explain the best he can to, like, who he believes the parents to be. And, basically, Midori ends up sending him the message that, hey, as long as they don't turn out to be villains, I'm fine. And Izuku should be too. And Izuku's like, yeah, like, as long as, another thing like the old, like, Chimera Ants doesn't happen, everything should be golden. And, these new Chimera Ants, like the new Chimera Ant 5 is there to be called, because they're the current ones that I'm going to have in the story for now. They're all like old Chimera Ants. There were Chimera Ants before us. And they're like, oh shit, we're going to have to explain that to them whenever they, get home. And like, technically, we don't live with each other, so it would kind of be like a broken home for the both sides. Like, what are we supposed to do about that? And basically, once everything is done, like the Nomu's destroyed, and, Shigaraki and Kirogiri are all gone, and, like, all of the other villains are arrested, and, like, the paparazzi and the press and everything, they're all out of the way. Basically, Izuku was like, no, you're coming with me, darling. Just, like, trying to act all coy while he's, like, forcing Midori to come with him. And, seeing as they're the parents, logically, their children would want to follow their parents. And basically, after all the commotion that they'd be doing, like, walking to wherever, like, they're being led, they would figure out that they were basically all born at the same time, so none of them are older than the other person. They were all born at the same time. The exact same time. So, yeah. At least by time, how time stands, none of them are older than the other. However, in experience, technically in experience, Caramel and Loco are the more experienced ones, because they were at the USJ before, like, the other three. So, yeah, in terms of combat experience, those two would be above all, like, the other three. They only showed up at the tail end. They only showed up at the tail end of it. And basically, because of the whole thing with, like, the naming, they already all know their names. And, even, having discussed the name, like, discussing the names before, they would pretty much have it down to, like, a photographic memory. Like, even beyond that. So they would all know their, like, birth names, and they would know the names of their siblings the more they talked to their siblings. And, they would soon all learn and find out that none of them are interested in becoming villains. Especially after what they've heard about the original Chimera Ants. It's not that they don't want to get nuke-exploded, although that would be very bad for them. But it's more or less that they share the same ideals as their parents. In the battle of nature versus nurture, apparently having planned so far ahead, it's basically like nurture before they were even alive to be nurtured. So much nurture that it actually overweighs the nature of the Chimera Ant. And so they were kind of able to make a new breed, that one that is not stuck to the old ways of the Chimera Ants. So technically these are kind of like new Chimera Ants. So basically, where they're all going, they end up seeing, and, basically, Izuku says, seeing as Miri's never, been at his house before, this is Chateau de, freaking Zoldyck. This is Chateau de Zoldyck. And, even Bakugo came along for the ride, and he did indeed admit that the vocabulary of Caramel might be a part of the fact that, they were with them for quite some time. With him. And yeah, so the whole vocabulary thing might be because of him, actually. They might actually be right in assuming that. Could be, maybe not. Who knows? And so, yeah. Basically, Midori is like, what does he hope to accomplish and do? Bringing them all here. And Izuku's like, well, not really Bakugo and, Ida, but, more or less giving you a nicer place to stay, and, well, the kids an actual place to stay, that's nicer than what they would have been staying at, had, any of them been staying at your old place. That is, if you're willing to accept an offer you can't refuse. Pulling some Mission Impossible bullshit. And so Midori would just be like, a done deal if your mother agrees. And, well, Inko would be like, this many mouths to feed, really, Izuku? And, well, Killowa's like, actually, from the look on his face, I think he's been planning this out for a while. And Izuku's like, Dad, you always know me so well. And Inko's like, fine then, what have you been planning out? And Izuku's just like, well, this. And he would just show her, like, this thing. Indeed. It is indeed very nice to have someone's, will money within your grasp. And you do remember that, Father, Mother? And Killowa just now remembers, oh shit, that's right. And just like, it's one of the members of our family, their will money if they ever died. And seeing as they were actually getting pretty old, I just decided to give the money anyways. Yet I didn't really want it, so I decided to tell Izuku, like, anything like short of a rainy day, to actually put the money to good use. And Inko's just, like, astounded as what she's seeing, like, shit, that is a big check. That is a damn big check. And Izuku's like, so I'll be able to support anyone that we can't support normally. And Miriam's like, wow, I don't even think I could count up that high. And that's not Midori being stupid, she's just really astounded by the big number. So, yeah. Basically, if you're wanting to know, like, how big the number is, it would be enough to make Elon Musk cry. That's what I'm saying. It's just big enough to make Elon Musk cry himself to sleep. And you guys, if any of you guys know what Elon Musk has done and is currently doing, yeah. Basically, Elon Musk and all the people working for Elon Musk, it would be enough to make them cry. That much money. So, yeah. Basically, Izuku's pretty lit. He's pretty fixed for the future. Pretty damn good. Pretty damn, good and everything. And, And something, a little interesting. Caramel and Ropelalico, they kind of want to be the two, like, front royal guards for the queen. I mean, they were like the ones born alongside their mother. The other three were like born off somewhere else, like wherever the eggs were at the time that contained them. But those two were born alongside their mother and their father, and not also to mention in like the midst of a freaking battlefield. And they kind of helped win the battle, like, and helped in like, beep beep, good quotations. So technically, they kind of would be better suited Royal Guard material. Like the frontal, like, lines. Like, the ones constantly ready to defend. And basically, Izuku's like, I'd be willing to let that happen, just whenever you're older and a little bit more trained. Because I could see what you two can do, and I was even able to see a little bit of what Poppy, Darwin, and Shintozaki could do. Not as much as the two of you, but I could indeed see what they could do. And from all my assassin training, like, type tricks, just from that alone, I can kind of tell where everything stands in between every single last one of you, and I can tell that all of you need improving, like massive amounts of improving, before you even begin to step foot in the shoes of the Royal Guard. Especially seeing as, even though you would be protecting your mother, you would basically, by doing that, by going that far, be putting your own lives at risk. And you are children. So we want to make sure that you can actually, have even standings with us. At least 50 to 75% of our power before you can actually take on the title. And maybe even then you won't actually be able to pass the exam we have for you. That's right, we won't even let you take our little special exam until you're at least at 50 or 75% of both of our powers. Both King and Queen. Because the role of top tier Royal Guard, that's a lot of responsibility, and that's a lot of big shoes to fill. So, and don't you forget that, Caramel, Rapalico, but don't let it discourage you either. Follow your dream, whatever it is. Besides, also trying to be a hero for other people while, defending your mother and myself? Well, let's just say, that's even bigger shoes and even bigger responsibility on top of the even bigger shoes and bigger responsibility already given to you by the Royal Guard title. That is, if you actually pass the exam. Once you've gotten to 50 to 75% of both of our powers stacked. And, basically, Caramel and Rapalico both indeed understand that, because, they're not stupid. They understand that if they're actually wanting to do this, then it's going to be serious business. It isn't going to be any cakewalk. They have to, actually face the music of the situation. And will Pappy, Daruman, and Shintozaki, well, they're just glad to be alive, because, they'd been doing their thing in the eggs for so long. It's good to be alive so that they can finally stretch their freaking muscles and do shit. And, until they finally mature enough, basically, they'd be like, they're more or less okay with being like frontal soldiers. Not like frontal Royal Guard level soldiers, but just like frontal soldiers in general. That way, the whole hero thing would be more manageable. And, other stuff. So, yeah. Basically, Pappy, Shintozaki, and Daruman, basically, they're aiming for a little bit lower of expectations. Because, they just now got to meet their parents. So, yeah, have some life before it's taken away from you. And, Rapalico and her brother Caramel, they understand that too, but, it's just they have such this great passion and loyalty towards the ones that gave them life and other people that, might be friends with their parents. And, their family too. Like, they feel like this undying passion to, like, go to these extremes. And, they're, like, Izuku and, Miri, they're just glad that their children aren't, traditional, like, chimera ant, life. They are just glad that they have good kids. And, that they survived that whole USJ attack. But, now they're hearing about all this whole, like, dorm system stuff being, like, implanted. And so, while still being able to see their parents, Izuku comes up with the bright idea of having their children stay at the dorms with them as well. Like, they wouldn't be going through the same stuff, and, well, after each thing, Izuku and Midori would indeed come back, and, they would tell the kids about how there's male dorms and female dorms. So if they wanted to see their father, they would go to where the male dorms were, and if they wanted to see their mother, they would go where the female dorms were. It's really that simple. And, well, seeing as there's, like, a living room area, and, like, towards the downstairs or upstairs, I don't know which, but I'm just gonna say, I think it would be the downstairs, but just because of this, I'm gonna say upstairs. Like, in the upstairs, there's, like, their own, like, little living room area. And so basically, like, Izuku and Midori could meet up in the living room area and could tell their children when they're gonna do that, and so that they could have their own little family time before it was time for everything to, go as canon. Or as much canon it can go whenever you have freaking chimera ants running around. Like, messing with your shit. So, yeah. Well, that's about it, So, yeah. Alan's gonna Dawson's go the direction of because OUT out of here, you boys. Like, favorite, subscribe. Something about the comment section. And bye.